very good morning. You're watching FYI. I'm Rishika Baru. Amid great expectations, Budget 2021 was presented on Monday. Today on FYI, our team has read through the fine print and we'll break down what the country's budget means for your budget, how it impacts your pocket and your expenditure, your spending, your taxes. While the Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, didn't announce any big changes in the income tax rules, she has tweaked some of the income tax rules, employees' contribution to Provident Fund for high-income earners and easing of income tax return filing for senior citizens. So here are the big takeaways. As far as tax is concerned, there's been no change in the income tax slab. Senior citizens, however, who are 75 years and above, having pension income and interest from fixed deposit in the same bank, would not be required to file income tax returns for the financial year beginning April 1st. As far as tax filing is concerned, well, the time limit for reopening of income tax assessment has been reduced from 6 years previously to 3 years now. As far as PF is concerned, interest earned on an accrual basis for employee contribution to Provident Fund above 2.5 lakhs will now be taxable. As far as housing is concerned, an additional deduction of 1.5 lakhs on loans to buy affordable houses has been put in place. This is going to be a boost as far as real estate is concerned. A one-year tax holiday has also been announced for affordable housing projects. Now, as far as insurance is concerned, the FDI in insurance has been increased to 74%. Now, sick banks, remember, has been a huge cause of concern for many of our viewers. We've had several shows here talking about the banking sector as well. The budget has made a provision for an immediately available deposit insurance of up to 5 lakhs for those affected by sick banks. As far as fuel is concerned, well, a cess of 2.5 rupees per litre on petrol and 4 rupees per litre on diesel has been announced, but this is not going to impact your pocket just yet. Remember, rising fuel prices has been a burning issue for many of our viewers, and we, of course, have tried to explain some of those phenomena here on FYI as well. Well, as far as alcohol is concerned, there's a 100% agricultural cess now on alcohol. The customs duty, however, has come down to 50% from the previous 150%. However, this is all not going to impact your pocket just yet. This hasn't yet come into play. Remains to be seen how this actually plays out. As far as jewelry is concerned, well, there's been a reduction on import duty on gold, on precious metal, from 12.5% to 10%. As far as electronics, mobile phones, etc. are concerned, all of those are going to be costly. Fabrics like silk, for instance, are going to get costly. We'll also, over the course of the show, break down for you what in fact does get cheaper and what gets more costly. But first, let's take a look at how the markets have responded to Budget 2021. Sakshi has been tracking the details of the story since the budget was announced. Sakshi, break it down for our viewers. The markets seem to be in quite an upbeat mood after the budget announcements.
That's right. So the markets have been surging. And why exactly do experts believe the markets have been surging post the budget? So there are 5 or 6 key reasons that we've been able to identify that experts have clearly told us across the board. One of them being, of course, no COVID cess. Remember, the markets had factored in a COVID cess, a one-time COVID cess on either the highest income bracket individuals or on the corporate sector. Now, that didn't come along, and that clearly cheered the market mood, and we saw that both yesterday as well as this morning in early trade. However, the second pointer, of course, that we believe and that experts have been also telling us that really cheered the market mood was that there was really no bad news, specifically on the taxation front, that again the markets were factoring in. So these 2 key reasons really led the gains yesterday as per experts. However, they also feel a framework as far as the infrastructure push is concerned. A clear roadmap on privatization also boosted sentiment further. They also feel the fact that the 20,000 crore infusion into the PSU banks really gained momentum for the banking sector. Remember, the Nifty Bank hit a fresh record high this morning as well. As far as the auto sector is concerned, of course, the industry is cheering the introduction of the scrappage policy and a clear process there underway. However, the big question now really is, does no bad news mean it's all good news on some fronts?
All right. So no bad news, but is it all good news? And more importantly, Like I said, on FYI today, we will try and break down how the budget, the country's budget, is going to impact your budget. Thanks so much, Sakshi, for joining us with that update. Let's open this up to our experts. We have a whole host of questions that have come in from our viewers after the budget yesterday, and we look to try and answer them over the course of the next half an hour. So Mahesh Jaisingh, partner at Deloitte India, is joining us from Gurgaon. We have Sanchita Mukherjee, senior financial services expert, live with us as well. We have Himanshu Parikh, partner and head of corporate and international tax at KPMG India. Thank you all very much for joining us on this edition of FYI. Just a disclaimer, this is a show where we answer questions, where we simplify what the budget actually means for our viewers. If I can begin, Mahesh Jaisingh, by asking you, no COVID cess, is that really a cause to celebrate at the moment?
Absolutely. I think no COVID cess, particularly on the customs and indirect tax side, would have meant a significant ripple effect on the pricing for all of us as consumers and businesses. So the situation of no COVID cess is certainly welcome. Tax rates on customs is by and large remain the same, and therefore keeping things simple and not changing things too much is also a welcome development, along with the lack of a COVID cess.
Sanchita Mukherjee, let's just briefly break down for our viewers the taxes. I mean, there hasn't been too much change that has been made. However, a few things, that you can maybe explain to our viewers. And let's first maybe focus on senior citizens, because, no income tax returns to be filed by pension earning senior citizens above the age of 75. How do the fine print modalities of this play out?
All right. I would just like to address this by first and foremost stating that this has been a very bold budget and a very proactive budget. It's more of a budget of philosophy than numbers. So whilst we are all cheering that there's not been any negative news and no impact on taxation, and we are breathing a sigh of relief that there's no COVID cess, let's understand the bigger picture here. Whenever we talk about what goods have become cheaper for us, what goods have become more expensive, what is the impact on taxation, what is the impact on pricing, we are looking at it in a very shallow way in terms of revenue expenditure, which has been going on for the last 75 years. There's been dole-outs, fees, right? We wake up in the morning and the first thing we ask is, okay, what's become more expensive for me? Whether the microwave is 200 rupees more expensive or the fridge is for 1,000 rupees less expensive. What's very important to note in this budget, which I would like to state outright, that the focus has shifted completely from pricing and what's in it for you from a very short-term perspective to capital expenditure. This is a capital expenditure budget which has been a lifetime historic budget of 34.5%.
Yes.
Where as citizens of India, we need to answer questions like, will my income become double in the next 5 years? Am I more concerned with 200 rupees off on a microwave, or will my income generation ability, my opportunities, do they increase on the manifold in the next 5 years?
Interesting,
I think
yes.
this budget philosophically addresses that question. It's very pertinent to answer it accordingly.
Right. So, just to come down to the brass tacks, and I think that's a very important question that, even as a viewer who's looking at how this budget impacts your household budget, it's important to look at the micro and the macro, the short term and the long term picture. Sanchita Mukherjee, I'll come back to this question on exemption of filing returns for pensioners above the age of 75. Sure. Who does this apply to and how is it going to work? Can you briefly explain it for the benefit of those who are eligible for this tax exemption?
Yes, of course. So for senior citizens, it's been a good exemption because senior citizens get very hassled in terms of filing their income tax returns after a certain age, 75 years of age, right? So it's a very well thought out and very pragmatic move to exempt them from income tax return filing altogether if their income generation is basically just interest and pension amount. So they're exempted from filing income tax returns altogether, and it's a very welcome move.
All Right. So that's, of course, how it's going to play out in terms of senior citizens. But the tax exemption on interest only up to 2.5 lakh of an annual contribution as far as PF is concerned, is the other big question that a lot of our viewers have asked about. Himanshu Parikh, what does this mean for, PF contribution? Who does this tax exemption no longer apply to, and why?
Okay, thank you. So first and foremost, I would like to compliment the finance minister that despite the significant slippage on the fiscal deficit front, she's made the bold move of not introducing any new taxes or not tinkering with the tax rates at all. Now, as far as this budget is concerned, as far as the common man is concerned, it's a mixed bag for the common man. Firstly, talking about this amendment made to the PF norms, what has been provided therein is that wherever any person contributes more than 2.5 lakh rupees per annum to either public provident fund or employees provident fund, the interest which arises on this excess contribution will be liable to tax in the hands of that individual going forward. So that's number one. The other thing that we need to be mindful of is this amendment made to taxation of ULIP maturity proceeds. Going forward, wherever any premium has been paid on a ULIP policy which exceeds 2.5 lakh rupees per annum, the maturity proceeds from the ULIP policy will be taxable as capital gains at the rate of 10%.
All right. Since we're talking about tax, and I think, predominantly those are questions that viewers have also asked, there's a specific question that Alok Singh has asked from Lucknow. Alok works at a private company, and here's his question.
मेरा नाम अरुण पांडे है, मैं क्लास 3 की गवर्नमेंट जॉब में हूँ। आप ये बताइए कि पिछले 3-4 सालों से मिडिल क्लास वाले लोगों के लिए सरकार ने बजट में क्या व्यवस्था की है? कोई भी कर राहत किसी तरह का कोई वो नहीं दिया गया है। इस सरकार ने क्या किया है 3 सालों में? पिछले 3-4 सालों के बजट उठा लीजिए तो कोई भी कर राहत नहीं दिया गया। क्या किया इन्होंने आम क्लास, मिडिल क्लास लोगों के लिए?
Mahesh Jaisingh, do you want to take that on? What is the kind of relief for the salaried class? And I think that's a slightly more broad-based question that a viewer has asked.
No, it is. But, my co-panelist Sanjana did mention that, and I think I'll converge both of it. I think what the government has consistently done over the last 3-4 years has been giving an impetus and push for Make in India and manufacturing. There has been 200,000 crores that's been assigned for something known as a PLI incentive scheme where you manufacture in India, and these are for identified sectors of mobile phones, automobile parts, steel, and solar goods and other items. So the reason I'm digressing a bit from getting into the microwave example is that's a very valid point, that what is the direction where the government is actually putting in the money to encourage overall enhanced manufacture, which creates not just direct employment for that manufacture activity, but also an entire ecosystem of employment, which affects and therefore benefits the middle class at large. So I think this year the government didn't have the liberty to reduce customs or to reduce duties, but what they've done is encouraging more and more manufacturing in India. And to me, that itself is directionally comforting and perhaps explains some of the comments that we talked about on the market sentiment as well.
True. Okay. We've talked about taxes, and unfortunately, we have a time constraint, so there are lots of questions coming in from, for different sectors as well. Another viewer's actually sent a question, on the real estate sector. Here's the question.
मेरा रियल एस्टेट का व्यवसाय है। मैं सरकार से पूछना चाहता हूं कि इस बजट में इन्होंने क्या प्रावधान किया है कि जो है रियल एस्टेट में तेजी आए, क्योंकि जब से रेरा आया हुआ है और जब से जीएसटी आई हुई है 18% रियल एस्टेट पे, तब से कस्टमर और जो है व्यवसायी दोनों परेशान हैं। तो इस बजट में हमें कोई भी ऐसा प्रावधान नजर नहीं आ रहा है कि जिससे इस बिजनेस में भविष्य में तेजी आएगी।
Sanchita Mukherjee, what has really been done to boost the real estate sector? We do know that there's tax holiday for affordable housing. There's also that 1.5 lakh exemption. But, how does that really impact viewers? How does it play out?
Right. So without getting into specific details, you already mentioned the tax exemption of on the affordable housing, and the 1.5 lakh continues till March 2022. What I would specifically like to address here, even in fact going back to the previous question here, just a small example. If I am an SME manufacturing person, right, a promoter of an SME company, and I produce goods and I'm in the lower middle income, if somebody is buying my goods, that definitely is an income generation for me, right? So having said that, similarly with real estate, you know, when there's an impetus, the rates of the country are at a rock bottom low. The home loan rates are at a rock bottom from independence.
Yes.
That is a great incentive for the real estate sector. So we need to understand, without getting dole outs, how am I increasing the wage growth in real estate for construction workers, gig workers? A portal has been made, in fact, to accumulate all of the gig workers, construction workers, migrant workers into all of that. Again, a historic portal which has never been done before. Secondly, wage growth. When you're looking at wage growth with this tremendous infrastructure push, real estate is a very, very direct beneficiary of these reforms.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is again getting into the holistic mode of it. We keep saying that the per capita income does not really increase. We're the 5th largest economy of the world. But why are we not questioning how does our per capita not increase every year? I think this budget is trying to address that.
Right.
In the capex.
Okay, I also want to, briefly, because we've touched upon real estate, I also want to briefly touch upon the auto sector. Himanshu Parekh, there have been questions on, this scrappage policy, and, there is a fair bit of difference of opinion on what it actually means for the masses vis-a-vis the sector. Do you believe that the interests can be reconciled?
Before I address that, I just wanted to address the earlier question about what has the government done for the common man for the past few years and what has the government done for the real estate sector in this budget.
Sure.
So two important points out there. Firstly, as far as affordable housing loans are concerned, we had this provision in the income tax law which said that a taxpayer will be entitled to an additional interest deduction of rupees 1.5 lakhs.
Yes.
He borrows funds for affordable houses.
Right.
Now, it was permitted only up till 31st March 2021. Now, the benefit of availing this loan has been extended by 1 year to 31st March 2022. Remember that in any case, all the taxpayers are entitled to a deduction of 2 lakh rupees by way of interest on housing loans. As far as affordable houses are concerned, there's an additional 1.5 lakhs available over and above that 2 lakh limit, and that benefit has been extended by 1 year.
Right.
Other important benefit as far as residential houses are concerned, whenever there would be a transfer of property from a developer or builder to an individual, let's say you buy a flat or an apartment in a new building, and let's say the sale consideration thereof is less than the stamp duty rate. Until now, we had a provision whereby the stamp duty rate would be deemed to be the consideration and tax would have been paid thereon, despite the fact that the actual sale consideration was lower than that.
Okay.
It has been provided that you will have a safe harbor of 20%, means that if the difference between the consideration and the stamp duty rate does not exceed 20%, in case of any allotment, first time allotment of a residential unit by a developer or builder to an individual, provided the cost of that house does not exceed 2 crore rupees, then this provision will not apply. So that's another relief.
Right.
One other significant relief provided to startups. We have this tax holiday available to startups, which is a 3-year tax holiday.
No, I'm going to come to startups, and I think that's a whole different episode altogether. But very briefly, if you can address the question on, one of our viewers has sent on the auto sector and what this scrappage policy means and how it's going to, impact household budgets, for instance, because a lot of people are now going to have to scrap their old, cars and perhaps look to invest in new ones.
So frankly, if you ask me, I'm in favor of this new scrappage policy. Vehicle which is more than 15, 20 years old, it does make sense to scrap it rather than, keep on running it and from an environment safety perspective as well.
Okay.
I think it makes sense. That's my take on that.
All right. Okay. But it is definitely going to impact the household budget as well. That's important to note. We're going to slip into a very short break at this moment. But on the other side, the alcohol cess and the fuel cess, is it going to impact you directly and right away? When will it hit you? We'll answer some of those questions. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's quickly answer your questions on the fuel cess and the agricultural cess on alcohol. Talking about fuel, the cess of 2.5 rupees per litre on petrol, 4 rupees per litre on diesel. Mahesh Jaisingh, is that something that's going to impact people directly right away?
Answer is no, the good news. And even in the short to medium term, no. What the government has just done is that we have a current duty framework. They've just split the duty between the customs duty and the excise duty respectively, and the cess separately.
Okay.
So very simply put, on alcohol, the import duty was 150 prior to the budget, 150%. What the government has done is just split that into two elements. 50% is the basic duty and 100% is the cess.
Right.
So from a consumer, and the price point remains the same. It's just that once the characterization becomes cess, the government is able to use those funds for specific purposes of AIDC, which is agriculture, infrastructure, and development. So I wouldn't worry, and would like to tell the viewers not to worry. There's been no increase in the net duties on
fuel's not burning any
petrol.
more of a hole in your pocket than it already is, essentially. Sanchita Mukherjee, I'll give you the very last word. The other question that a lot of our viewers have asked is, if it's not going to impact their pocket directly now, should they brace for impact later, especially when it comes to fuel and alcohol prices specifically, where we are seeing this additional cess?
Yes, so I'll just add on to what Mahesh was saying. Again, in the alcoholic beverages section, I don't think there is a need to worry or panic, and you can enjoy your drink because of the composition in which this has been structured. Right. So whilst on one hand, there's been 100% cess, agricultural infrastructure cess on alcoholic beverages. Yes. On the other hand, the customs duty on alcoholic beverages have been brought down from 150 to 50%. Right. So overall, your net effective remains at 150, right? So that is the composition in which.
Okay. I'm afraid I'm completely out of time on the show. We've tried to squeeze in as many of your questions as we could. I apologize if we've missed out any. We'll continue to decode the budget for you here on NDTV. Thank you all very much for joining us on this edition of FYI.